gals of the Bible class as well for coming to listen to our speaker today. Minnijean Brown Trickey is a civil rights activist. She was part of the Little Rock Nine in Little Rock, Arkansas. Many of you in my U.S. history classes watched the documentary that covers that specific event. But Minnijean has been working her entire life towards social justice and civil rights activism. And currently she works with the Sojourn to the Past project, which is an immersion program that takes students to the South through the civil rights movement. We'd like to welcome Minnijean.
Well, now that I've walked through your halls, I went to Central High School and I was expelled in February. I got a scholarship to a private progressive school in New York City, and it was about this size. There were 19 of us in our graduating class. How many in your graduating?
34.
Oh, okay. So,
We're big.
it was a dream school. It was very important to my growth and my experience, life experiences. So, as much as it's easy to talk at you, I kind of like you to talk with me, and then we have a conversation. So, I know you saw the Little Rock Nine. That's a Canadian production. Two of the best documentaries about Little Rock were made by Canadian women. One was Ms. Levitt, and the other was Maria Young-Lee Shin. And although you got that one, I decided that I wanted the other one better because it kind of told the story and it didn't reveal all my secrets. So I know you had questions, so would you like to start?
Okay, so my question was, in watching the documentary yesterday, or actually this question came up more in an article we read, which was in Look magazine, and just talking about all the different types of like just things you have to deal with other students and just like the harassment. And I was just wondering, obviously I couldn't put myself in that position. I can't really, think about what that would be like, but I was just wondering if going through those things, if it helped you to think about just kind of what your, like the Little Rock Nine was representing as far as integration in general. Did that help you kind of ignore what they were saying and not react?
Wow.
I had it written down.
No,
It sounded
that's
a lot
very,
better
that's very,
in writing.
that's a wonderful question. And I'm thinking a minute. The Supreme Court decision, Brown v. Board at Topeka, came down in 1954, and when a Supreme Court decision is made, people have to do plans. It doesn't just automatically go into law. So Little Rock, there was an injunction filed with the Little Rock School Board to come up with a plan. And sort of a lot of things happened, but my part was, when I was in the 10th grade, it came on the intercom, if you're interested in going to Central, please sign on this sheet. And I stupidly did. And then at some kind of selection process, it's my understanding that 70 black kids signed up to go to Central. And there were meetings in which we were told we couldn't participate in any activities, nothing. No clubs, no choir, nothing. No athletics. And then kind of we had to decide, okay, well, do I want my name to stay on the list? And I decided, yeah, why not? And I'll tell you that when I signed, I skipped home and I said to my mom, oh, I signed up to go to Central. Now, you're gonna have to help me. when you go home and you tell your families you're gonna do something that's maybe a little, I don't know if you could say weird, but that might be a good way. What do they usually say?
No.
No? Is that what they say first?
There's usually some like criticism or wanting to change it a little bit or something like
Okay,
What made
Saying
you
you
make
really
this
want
decision?
that. Yeah.
well, you're all,
That's great.
well, what's the kind of, well, my mother said, we'll see. And you know exactly what I'm talking about. And that's the, oh my goodness, I don't know, I'm not sure. And as the process went on, I think they, from the 70 or from, they were gonna have 20. So they didn't phone us, they put our names and addresses in the newspaper. So we started getting hate calls and people breaking windows and driving by. So the plot was thickening. It was looking like, ooh, this is gonna be really exciting. But what, I could ask, what do you do when you're going to a new school? You go get shoes or whatever. I don't know what you do now. I know my kids went to get new shoes, maybe. Well, in the South, you get new clothes. And my best friends and I, three of us, we're deciding what we're gonna wear, and the school board said, well, there might be some catcalls. So we're saying, oh, well. I thought, oh my goodness, I've got a smile to die for. I can sing, I'm smart, and I'm pretty. Who wouldn't want me? And I think that's kind of how we negotiate our lives. We think, well, I have something here, this is gonna be cool, and they'll get to know me and it'll be okay. But when we talk about institutional power, the night before school opened, the governor announced that he was putting the Arkansas National Guard around the school to keep the peace. Well, I'm not privy to coded white supremacist language, so I didn't know what he was talking about. And I just trotted to school with my new dress. And when we tried to go onto the school ground, the Arkansas National Guard stopped us, but they let white kids in. And behind us was this mob. Now, somebody said they were 150 people, but it sounded a bit like a raucous basketball game or something, only the things they were saying was, we're gonna kill you and hang them, and race mixing is communism, and integration is an abomination against God, and various signs like that. And I thought, oh my goodness, these people are crazy. But a lot of them were women, many of them were women, and I believe that they threw away their dignity and it landed on us. So I thought, anybody who is willing to make fools of themselves, I don't think I want to go to this school, but they're not keeping me out, so I will come back. But that process wasn't really in our hands. We had to go to court, we had to go to federal court, all kinds of things that you do when you're in a difficult situation. And it was 3 weeks. I know, this is boring. The president and Governor Faubus negotiated, and he removed the Arkansas National Guard. And we were protected by the Little Rock police, and there weren't so many of them. We went into the school, and then we were told at about 10 that we needed to leave. They didn't say why. And they took us to the basement. We got into these police cars. Now, I don't know about you, but the guy with the gun and the big stick is white knuckling and shaking. And he's a guy and he's a cop. How am I supposed to feel? I'm the kid here. So they told us to put our heads down, and they told the drivers, go as fast as you can, and once you start, don't stop. So it was kind of scary. And then, of course, the mob had grown in size, and I didn't count them, but they beat up some white and black reporters, and the world media, thank goodness for television, recorded it all, and I guess President Eisenhower saw it, as well as getting lots of irate letters. And then it was the Cold War, and the United States was fighting for democracy around the world and didn't have it. So the pressure probably was on for him to send troops to protect us. And we were taken into school by the 101st Airborne. And they were in the hallway, they dispersed the mobs. And they stayed until October. The Arkansas National Guard was federalized, and they also protected us. So that was a long answer to your question. I think you were asking me, why did I go and why did I stay? And it's been 54 years, so it'll be 54 years. September 25th, and I haven't figured it out yet. So I'd like to tell you why and what qualities I had as a person, but I do know that maybe there was so much opposition. I thought, this is bigger than I am. It's really important that I do this. And besides, they're not going to chase me out. That's, you know, it's simple, everyday, nothing special stuff that keeps people going. Later, my mother would say, why don't you stay home for a mental health day? And I said, no, I've got to go see what they're going to do to me today. So you get, just, I call it reframing, how you make a difficult situation manageable. Yes?
Would you let your kids go through the same thing? That, like, if you were the parent, would you kind of let your kid just be the first one to do this?
Well, I have 6 kids, and my theory is, your kids are, if I were in a room of grown-ups, I would say, as a creative parent, your kids are supposed to surprise you, you have to be prepared for it, and go with it. My mother, our parents knew how important it was to us. They didn't really know what was going on in the school because we didn't tell them. And we protected them from the truth. And we said we wanted to go, so they said yes. So would I? Well, truth is, I homeschooled my first 2 kids to grade 9 because I thought, I don't want them to have to deal with this kind of thing. So the first 2 to grade 9, the second 2, I think, to grade 4, and the third group, it went to junior kindergarten, okay? So, I mean, you think about things and you, I've let them do things, or quote, join them to do things that maybe some other people wouldn't. Because I want them to be self-determining. I want them to take social responsibility, and so I've let them do stuff. Or you can't really, in truth, don't tell your parents, there's nothing we can do, okay? Don't tell anybody I told you that.
Figure that out already.
You already knew that, right? Okay, there you go. You know the answer. You know that sometimes there are things that are so important that you have to do it. And I want it to be simple. I don't want to say, oh my God, we were so brave. No, sometimes we're really just stupid. And because we didn't know what we were getting into, but once we saw what we were getting into, we said, oh yeah, we're gonna do this. Yes. I told you I have 6 kids. You can ask me anything.
Oh, that's really creepy.
Oh my God, turn the camera off.
So we read our class also read from the newspaper, and we read some like things that people have done, and I want to know, over the past 50 years since it's passed, obviously many people's viewpoints have changed. Have any people who have kind of done those things, basically the like white racists who like did those things, did they come up, did they apologize to you, have they?
Okay,
Yeah.
so the answer to that is that there were 20 nice kids. Those are people who smiled or said hello to great risk for themselves. They were traitors. So they got hate mail, they got beaten up, they got harassed. Okay, so 20, that means each of us had 2. 100 kids who kept up the trouble, and 1,800 plus silent witnesses. And if no place else on earth, you know about Elie Wiesel's concept of silent witnesses and indifference. So my question is, who do you think the silent witnesses supported in the final analysis? Was it the good kids or the bad kids? So I had I was involved in a chili incident, which even I have told wrong, but anyway. In Eyes on the Prize, it said I dumped chili on a dude's head. But in fact, I dropped the tray, the chili, the roll, the cutlery, the whole thing on 2 dudes, okay? And I got suspended for that. Now, one of those guys has never spoken, is 54 years. I don't know who he is. The other went down to the vice principal's office with me and said she didn't do anything. It wasn't her fault. Well, they got him out of the room really quickly. So he stayed silent for 48 years. And then we met, emailed, talked, then we went on CNN and talked about it. The reporter said, and tell me about the altercation. His name was Dent Gitchell. He said it wasn't an altercation. So we got that straightened out. Then for one of the anniversaries of the desegregation crisis, we had a chili cook-off at Central High School. So I mean, to smooth it out, tell the story. However, 3 times soup or something really gross and hot was thrown at me. Nobody knows about that. But one of the guy who threw 1 bowl of something on me apologized to me on Oprah. And then 2 years ago, I was speaking at Peru State College in Nebraska, and at the question period, and I talked about the silent witnesses, and a woman stood up and said, I admit to being a silent witness, and I'm sorry. So guess what? We're both weeping, moving toward each other in slow motion, crying. So those are 2 apologies. Yeah. Yes.
What was the reason, since in the Look newspaper it didn't really say why, but what was the reason that you got expelled from school, if you know?
I got expelled. I got expelled because, well, there's a chronology. Supposedly, I got expelled for calling, saying, "Leave me alone, white trash," to 5 girls who had been following me for a week, stepping on my heels till they were bleeding, which was a common thing. And somebody threw a purse. I picked it up, it had 6 locks in it. And the rule was if a teacher didn't see it, it didn't happen. The teacher did not see the purse, nor did anyone see the 5 girls stepping on my heels, calling me ugly, black, dirty, stinky, all those other things. But she did hear me say, "Leave me alone, white trash." And so I was expelled for verbal retaliation after provocation. I did not keep the purse because I didn't know about evidence. What would you have done with the purse? Just, what do you think what do you think I thought about doing with the purse?
Throw it back.
Throw it back. Instead, I threw it on the floor. I didn't keep it. And then the teacher heard me say that and I was whisked to the office. I don't know what happened to the purse. I do know that in the Eisenhower papers and Arkansas National Guard didn't see them hit me with the purse, but saw me drop it to the floor. So, in 1980-something, the girls' vice principal wrote a book, which was also made into a movie, called Crisis in Little Rock, her version of the story. And she needed me to sign the release. And I said, "No, I won't sign the release because I got expelled and I've been shamed for that for 35 years. She said, "Why, Minnijean," Southern accent, "didn't you know you were going to be killed?" I said, "What?" She said, "You were going to be killed. We had to get you out." Well, you know what? To me, that's ultimate racism because they neither told my parents nor did they tell me. So I felt that I failed in this whole thing. I was totally felt guilty for all those years. Then she tells me I was going to be killed.
Killed for what?
What?
Killed for what?
For being there.
By who?
By who knows? This is serious stuff. This is about American terrorism at its finest. This is every day, all night. Parents losing businesses, getting death threats. I had a 3-year-old brother, and we didn't want him to answer the phone. Well, it's so long ago that the phone, you couldn't turn, it was so long ago, you don't even want to know. And he never heard swearing in the house, because my mother thought damn was swearing. And the little kids weren't supposed to answer the phone. So you'd go grab the phone from him and somebody'd say, "We're coming to burn your house down. We're going to kill you." Now he's a kid. He's a little boy. He's 3. How do they say, "Hello"? And some gruff voice is saying, "We're coming to burn your house down." So one day he ran to the phone, picked it up. Obviously somebody said some choice words to him, and he said, "Go hell zombie." And you can figure it out next week. He was a little kid. I'm not telling you. I'm not saying it. And my mom was horrified, so we had to be very careful. So people were swearing at him, and he was actually learning swear words off the phone. Yeah, it'll get to you. So, when you said I was going to be killed by who, you expressed a sense of horror that was possible. when you train people for 300 years, white supremacy, black inferiority, we can't be surprised that people do those kinds of things. And it was really shocking to me. I've spent my life trying to help people unlearn that. What did I get from Central? Total compassion, a sense of social responsibility, that if I don't do it, who will? And then somebody else's quote, if not now, then when? All those on my statue, oh my God, statue. Statue. Google it, it's called a monument. It's on the Capitol grounds. I didn't have words that were clever enough, so I used Gandhi's word, be the change you wish to see in the world. So that's what I learned. Yes.
How did you stop yourself from like physically retaliating? Because I know like my family, when they were beat for being Jews, they beat back.
I think it depends on the odds. There were 1,000, 2,000 of them and 9 of us. I'm not that stupid. And when I did use 2 words, they could punish me ultimately. I'm a nonviolence person because I was in the civil rights movement. You can't fight people who have the greatest death machine on earth with violence. You cannot. You have to use something that is not that, not violence. And so much of the civil rights movement was going upon violence with nonviolence. So it worked for that period. I don't know. We're fairly desensitized to violence now. I don't know if that could happen again, but I wish it could. So yeah, I don't like those odds. They would kill me. I mean, there are photographs of people marching toward the school with baseball bats and all kinds of, not guns that I could see, but they were there to hurt. That was their design. Yes?
How did you feel when the 101st came to protect you, or came to Little Rock?
Woohoo! I felt very safe. There was a 101st veteran who lives in San Jose, and he came to my class at the 3 community colleges in the San Mateo district and talked about it. And he said, I said to him, oh, they're scared of you, I'm really glad you're here. And he treasures that one sentence for the rest of his life. And that's how I felt, that because the first day of school, the first day of non-school, we had done all the things, singing all the anthems, the pledges, the hiding under the desks from the communists. I don't know about you, but I don't think hiding under desks stops radiation poisoning, but they didn't tell us that. But that is a way of convincing people that the enemy is someplace else, that it's outside, that it's over there, it's over there, it's over there. And I found out it was right in my hometown. So that was heartbreaking. Because you know, we do this thing about land of the free, home of brave, and all that stuff. No more. I figured, no, didn't mean me. So what the 101st meant was, it maybe meant me a little bit, and that the mob was going to storm the school. They were wanting to hurt us. I don't know if they would have killed us or not. Had it not been to me, had it not been for television, the Cold War, we probably would have been dead in a ditch. If you look at the civil rights movement, you will find out many people were killed to try to get the vote, to three civil rights workers for Freedom Summer. Have you looked at Freedom Summer? Schwerner, Goodman, and Cheney, you check that one out. For just going to Freedom Summer. So, yeah, the 101st were my heroes. Yeah,
This is another complex question.
that's okay.
So, like in seeing the documentary and then reading the article, I was just trying, I was thinking about the amount of stress and just constantly having just so much on your mind while you were at school, and in both the article and the documentary, we didn't really get to see a lot of what happened outside of school, and I just was wondering what kinds of things, or what it was like at home basically, and how you were able to cope with that, and what support you had at home, just outside of school stuff.
Well, my parents let me go. That was the main thing, and that was support. It was a different time. It wasn't confessional, everything all out, all our feelings. It was a whole kind of different time where our parents didn't tell us what was happening to them. And what do you do when you go home and your parents say, "How was your day?" What do you say? Fine. Well, yeah. What else? That's what you say, and that's what you do. And so when they'd say, "How was your day?" "Fine." Okay. And that was it. Because I think we felt that if they knew, they would take us out. And we wanted to do it, and we were going to do whatever it took to do it. I don't know how it was done. I look at those kids when I see the pictures, and I'm just fascinated by them. And I have great admiration for them. I just think, wow, look at those kids. Like they were 14, 15, and 16. And I look at the photos, and I'm just awed by them. I don't know what they possessed. I don't think that there are words to talk about them in that way, because I don't know. If I could figure it out, then I would finish my book, okay? If I could have the words, if I could explain it, if I could capture it, then I would finish my book. But I don't. And you must know people who've done extraordinary things. You must have done extraordinary things yourselves. Can you explain it? Can you tell? Do you know how or why or any of that? Yes.
Did you respond differently, or I guess did each of you guys respond differently to attending Central, or did you all kind of have the same reaction?
Well, again, look at the photos. We come out of there, we're laughing because Jefferson Thomas was this brilliant wit. And most of the jokes were at the expense of the white students, okay? So we laughed a lot. We didn't tell each other because the nature of bullying, harassment, terror is about convincing the victim that it's their fault. So they kind of told me, "Oh, they do this to you because you," and they'd give me a reason. "Oh, Minnijean, you're just so volatile." They would tell another, "Oh, they're harassing you for another reason. I was in an elementary school yesterday, and we were talking about bullying. And to my knowledge, there's no bullying without persuading the victim that there's something wrong with them. I mean, that's the nature of it. So they were always sort of convincing me that things were happening to me because something about me. Beth Roy, who lives in San Francisco, did her doctoral dissertation on gender and class issues at Central with a group of female students who'd been there. So half the book was, oh, that Minnijean did this, and oh, that Minnijean did that. Well, Minnijean was not that stupid, and that Minnijean was fat, or Minnijean, and they use the word mammy, or she was a Jezebel. These are all these racist terms. So she showed them a picture, this group, one group, they were meeting. And they said, oh, she doesn't look like I remember her. But I mean, I was the kid then with them. And they said, oh, well, we really hated her because she walked the halls of Central like she belonged here. Well, that was a relief to find out. Yeah, but it wasn't the confessional time, and that I think is really key. We're desensitized to violence. All our feelings have been acted on some show or other. Well, we only had 3 channels, and 2 of them were snowy, and they were black and white. So there wasn't that much emotion demonstrated. So all your feelings were your own. You figured them out yourself. And I mean, I can cry because I've watched people cry. You know, I mean, everything's been acted out, so I don't know how we know what's ours and what's theirs somehow. Yeah.
What's your best memory at the school?
The day the 101st took us inside. That's the best memory. Wait, let's ask somebody who hasn't. Yeah.
So this is branching off a little bit from Aviv's question earlier. So now that like with the whole the civil rights movement and everything, and as time goes by, now everyone is people aren't racist anymore. At least
Oh, yes,
I mean
they
at least
are.
most. Oh well, or at least I guess a much larger percentage of people. I mean, it's not
People are
the,
less racist.
people are less racist.
No, they're not name calling.
Oh, well, so I mean,
Much.
it has changed so it's changed, I guess, in that way. And then, I mean, so yeah, just how is it, like, that transition, from people first, like, going right up to you and saying all these rude things to now people, people are now just, people are a lot nicer. I mean, how has that transition felt for you, like, like, from seeing all these white people being really like racist and now, and sorry, it's not really phrasing it well.
That's okay. Just keep working on it.
It's just like how has that transition felt for you from people are people were first really people were the way that they were like at Central High School.
Lots of it.
Violent and like bullying, and now and present day when people are, at least, for the general sense, cordial.
Sorry. We just get a different target group. I call it the fill in the blank. I went to a rally. It was supposed to be political people a year ago at the Capitol ground, and they had the same signs, same phrases. Something being an abomination against God. We hear that all the time. What?
The gay rights?
And yeah, well, it's fill in the blank, okay? And the target group changes. Or broadens. And I can't say that I'm satisfied. And that's why I have to keep busy and keep working. And we had a lot of training for this behavior and belief system, and we haven't had the training to release it or to unlearn it. So I'm not sure we're doing so well. I had a student in a couple of weeks ago say, but we have a black president, isn't that proof? I said, oh my God, from 1616 it takes to 2008 to get a black person as a president, excuse me? And I'm supposed to be grateful? Uh-huh. And if I knew their names of those people who came in 1616, I could start a really snobby club and call it the Black people, daughters of the Black people who arrived in 1600. So, what kinds of targets are we doing now? If we want to say anti-Semitism, we want to say racism, want to say homophobia, gender stuff. We're not healed yet. We got a lot to do. And then of course it gets thrown at you. I failed, I didn't fix it. I tried, but I didn't. I apologize to you for that. I wanted to fix it. Everything I've done in my life was about fixing it. Sorry, it's gonna be you. You know, everybody says, oh, it's the future, the youth. You have a better opportunity. You know, you have social media, you have cultural variation in your lives that wasn't always here. So you have greater possibility. Are there things in your lives that you don't like? Or is everything just fine? Is it all good? Well, don't just sit there and tell me yes or no.
No.
So what are some of the issues that are specifically disturbing to you? Yeah.
Homophobia. I totally agree with you. It really does move from, target to target. I saw like a picture, these two pictures. One had the signs of, people like from, white supremacists holding up these signs. And then there's another picture showing the same thing, except instead of African Americans, it was gay people. And actually the caption was, imagine how stupid you're going to look in 40 years.
Thank you. And that breaks my heart. Because I didn't want that to happen. That's the key. I don't. That's what, okay, now I get it. I went to Central because I thought that if I could go there and build relationships with those kids, that kind of thing would stop.
Did you build relationships with those kids?
What?
Did you build relationships with
No,
No?
couldn't. They weren't, even the kids who wanted to build relationships were harassed and got hate mail, and their fathers lost their jobs. And then the governor closed the schools the next year, the high schools. Imagine. And there weren't so many private schools as there are now. I'll tell you, there's a documentary called The Lost Year. The schools, the segregationist schools, were Christian, segregationist schools. There was no cultural variation the only cultural variation or religious variation, Catholics, the whole category, Protestants, Jews, and then colored people, as they were called. So, and 2 Japanese boys who were in Arkansas because there were 2 Japanese internment camps in Arkansas. So it's all, their residually being in Little Rock Central High School was because they had been exiled from California and put in Arkansas. So if we can't see all this craziness as something to make us conscious, it's like, it's so crazy. Okay, so I want to tell you, I was involved in the civil rights movement in different ways. I was arrested for sit-ins and a whole bunch of crazy stuff. But I want to talk about social responsibility. If you don't like it, you better do something about changing it. And a movement, and this is my personal definition because of my experience, movements are, for me, people doing things simultaneously in different places in the interest of social justice. So the way United States history teaches the civil rights movement is an add-on, and it simplifies it to the point of ridiculousness. But what it doesn't talk about is people finding ways to change their conditions. Segregation in buses, segregation, which is containment. The cool thing is that there are scholars who are writing about some of those things, and you have an opportunity to learn stuff that I didn't. Now, when I went to New Lincoln School, I'm coming back, it was a predominantly Jewish school. It was a private progressive school. When I got there, I found out about the Holocaust. So I hadn't learned about it in the white school, and I didn't learn about it in the black school. So I've been miseducated from day one, okay? But the secret is, the grandmothers loved me because they said I would eat. And I would go to an overnight, what do they call it? Have an overnight thing. And I would be in the grandmother's room, and she would be telling me about her experience in the concentration camps. And my friends would say, she never talked to me about it. But they felt a kinship with me. And some other places where there's been hatred and conflict. I had a situation in Belfast, Northern Ireland, with high school boys who were caught up in the violence. And I said, is this your choice? And they said, no, but there's no other way. Some little girls who were harassed going to their school, I met with their parents and they said, how can we help them? And I said, well, you just have to love them. So I went to their school, and the principal said, oh, they're practicing for a concert, but you can go and say, talk to them for a minute. And so somebody told them about Little Rock, and these are all little girls, elementary girls. And they started asking me questions. And they asked me questions for about an hour, and all the grown-ups around the wall were weeping because they said the kids hadn't been able to tell them what their issues were. So they were asking me, will they come and kill us? Do they want us to die? So I have an amazing story. It's beautiful. Plus I have all that footage of me being so beautiful, so I get to remember. And it's quintessential United States history because it's about the Constitution, it's about the courts, it's about the use of state troops to contravene federal law. It's about federal law used to enforce federal troops, used to, it just goes. It's about silent witnesses, it's about peer pressure, it's about bullying, it's about persistence of the human spirit, and I say that my face should be on a dollar bill. And it's a story more than anything, it's a story about teenagers. And what they're capable of, the violence they're capable of, and the peace that they're capable of. So it's an amazing story, and ask me more questions.
So we have 5 minutes left.
Okay.
So we can take a couple more questions.
There was a question, a hand being held for a while.
Oh, I didn't look that way. Sorry, you have to yell at me.
All right, so what was an experience or a moment that you felt like things were starting to turn around for civil rights, or at least some progress had been made, and you felt like your work and your experiences had paid off?
It's when the law changes. Now, we have had Jim Crow laws, black codes. I do an exercise with sometimes where I have 15 people standing in a line, and I have numbers to indicate generations. So they're 15 generations, and only, and they're theoretically of black people, and only 2 generations have a 25-year generation. Only 2 have been able to vote. Because the voting rights bill was in the 60s. The civil rights bill that was, they're trying to undo the voting rights bill now to, I don't know for what reason, but so that there's voting. The thing we talk about so much is the American way. Well, blacks have fully been able to vote for 2 generations. That's less than 50 years. It's actually 40 years. So maybe it started to turn around when the law changed it. When they took desegregated buses, the cool thing now is there's so many really good documentaries. There's a fabulous documentary on the freedom rides. Have you seen that?
I watched part of it in assembly.
Okay, did you see that they were burning the bus, that they were going to burn the people alive? Did that make you mad? Did you think that anybody was crazy enough to burn a bus with people in it because white people were sitting next to black people? That's in my life. That's not so long ago. That's in my life. Did you see the Children's March?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, we saw that one.
God, that's great. Didn't you just love it? 5,000 kids going to jail in a pig shed. this is cool stuff. I'm in a good company. It's so cool to have been part of that. Wasn't in Children's March, but I've been arrested for hugging trees and all kinds of stuff. So, I mean, it's not, I want to say clearly, we have enough stuff that whatever you're interested in, you can do something. Whatever your interest. You know, if it's about animals, if it's about the environment, if it's about trees, if it's about... So when did I notice there was a difference? When the law changed, because all this had to be supported by law. Segregation was the law. All American suburbs had a clause before a period, before the Civil Rights Act, that no person of color could live in United States suburbs. That's all of them. So we say, oh, they just really like living in ghettos. Oh, the Japanese went peacefully to the camps. So we have to stop, and the time is up. We have to stop believing these social myths. There's so much information out there. The opportunity for knowledge is so great. I wish you well, and I wish you peace.
Again, thank you to our speaker. We're going to hang around for a couple minutes to take some pictures if you'd like to be involved in that or to ask another question or two for just a couple minutes after school. But thank you again for coming.